So Dana White's Contender Series 2023 Week 1 just wrapped up, and to be honest, it was a pretty bad card for my picks, but it was a very good card for the UFC and also for the fighters because 5 fighters were assigned with the potential of maybe signing a loser in Reyes Cortez. There seemed to be a little bit of talk on the commentary desk about that happening, so maybe if you see Reyes Cortez come out of nowhere on a short notice replacement fight, maybe that could happen, but it was a good card overall. As I said, the picks weren't too good, but in this video, I just wanted to kind of recap the card, talk about the fighters, and then give the guys that were assigned an opponent for them to debut against that I think would be very appropriate and very fun and very good to kind of gauge where they are in the UFC rankings. And starting off with the bottom fight, Kevin Borjas beat Victor Diaz. It was hard to watch as someone that picked Victor Diaz as a minus 400 favorite to see him go out there and not be able to out-wrestle and out-grapple Kevin Borjas, who has never wrestled and grappled in his entire MMA career. It was unreal to me that Kevin Borjas, and I did become a big fan of Kevin Borjas over time because, man, this guy is fun. He was throwing high volume. He was just throwing everything at Victor Diaz. Diaz had a chin on him, man, but Borjas was really investing in the body early, and that body shots really seemed to kind of have a good toll on Victor Diaz as Victor Diaz slowed down a lot towards the end. So Borjas won the fight round 2 and 3. Diaz was trying to wrestle and make the fight really boring. I thought Victor Diaz was just going to take down Kevin Borjas early and submit him in the first round. That obviously didn't happen. Victor Diaz slowed down a lot after round 1, which was crazy because I said during my live stream during the event, Victor Diaz went 3 hard rounds with a wrestler that was trying to take him down constantly, and he never gassed out, but he gassed out to Kevin Borjas, who took over and showed off some really good striking, and I think he should debut against Vinicius Salvador. I think that would make a lot of sense. Now, Vinicius Salvador is 0-2 in the UFC, but he's a pure striker, and Kevin Borjas versus Vinicius Salvador would have an incredibly fun fight on the feet. Like, these guys would scrap with each other. I don't think Kevin Borjas is the most technical guy at flyweight at all, which is why I think a fight with Vinicius Salvador will be a good tester. See how good they both are. Maybe you could put it on that fight night in Brazil or just an Apex event somewhere. Maybe in front of a crowd, because Salvador is a pretty fun fighter to watch, and so is Borjas, but I think it's definitely fun fights to be made between those two. Peyton Talbot won. He just beat Reyes Cortez. I don't know how active Peyton Talbot wants to be, but he has been insanely active throughout his career. I actually kind of want to see Peyton Talbot take on a guy that is a bit more of a grappler. Peyton Talbot in this fight, though, showed insanely good takedown defense, insanely good striking. He looked exactly like Sean O'Malley. I picked him to win this fight as well. It was a close fight. A lot of people picked Reyes Cortez in this fight. A lot of people probably got burned on Reyes Cortez a little bit, but I did pick Peyton Talbot. Very low confidence pick it was, but Talbot looks so good, man. He lost the first round a little bit, but then he really took over in the second and the third. Really looked like Sean O'Malley out there. Showed really good takedown defense, which he has not shown in his entire career until now. So when it mattered, he showed good takedown defense, defended a lot of takedowns, kept the fight on the feet, beat up Cortez on the feet. Great win for Talbot. And I think you should fight Simon Oliveira. Now, this reason why is because Simon Oliveira is going to be the most experienced fighter that Cortez has ever fought. He's never fought a guy with a lot of experience, because even Reyes Cortez was only 7-2. So Simon Oliveira's had 23 MMA fights, but he's also a pure grappler. He's not very good at striking, but if the fight goes down to the ground, he will put, he would put, Peyton Talbot in a lot of trouble. So I think Simon Oliveira versus Peyton Talbot is a fight that would make sense. It would be very fun to watch as well. I think Peyton Talbot would look good on the feet, but if it did get down to the ground, it could become a completely different fight. So that's why I want to see Simon Oliveira take on Peyton Talbot in the next fight. Kai Machado won. I thought there was a good chance he wasn't going to get signed, and I'm going to say this is the worst read I've ever had in a fighter ever. I picked Kevin Cesar to win this fight, and Kevin Cesar showed up not wanting to win. It's as simple as that. Kevin Cesar, if you look at his older fights, he's actually fought some really good guys, and I mean, like, he didn't throw anything. Apparently the stats said he landed 22 strikes. I find that hard to believe. He probably landed less than 10. On the feet, he threw nothing. He went for takedowns. He went for 7 takedowns, didn't get any of them, and never let his hands go the whole fight, which is weird because I said in my breakdown, and I don't even know, man. Cesar actually is a good boxer. He's got good boxing fundamentals. He was talking about how he trained with John Jones as well, like in the past in 2017, I think it was. I was like, man, like, this guy's got some good training behind him then. But when I was watching his tape, he was looking good on the feet. He was actually looking like a technical striker, and that's why I thought he'd beat Kai Machado. But Kai Machado just went out there and bombed away on the feet. Didn't do really anything technical whatsoever. He's actually a very good grappler, as Machado. I actually have him matched up against Jamal Pogues, but I forgot to bring up Jamal Pogues' thing. But I think Kai Machado versus Jamal Pogues, if Machado wins that fight, then he can move on and fight maybe like Carl Williams or someone like that. Someone kind of borderline ranked. But I think for now, Machado versus Jamal Pogues makes the most sense. Tom Nolan went out there, beat the crap out of Bogdangrad. This is probably the best pick that I made correct on the card. I only got 2 of them right to start with, but you can't really blame me. No one really expected Borjas to be able to defend the takedowns, and nobody expected Cesar Almeida to have such good grappling. I think the one fight that I really messed up on was the heavyweight fight, to be honest, but yeah, I just had a really bad read on Kevin Cesarowski. That was my bad. But for Tom Nolan, though, once again, a lot of people were on Bogdangrad. I was very high on Tom Nolan. I saw people very high on Bogdangrad, but Tom Nolan just went out there and beat the crap out of him, to be honest. Dropped Bogdangrad in about the first 20 seconds of the fight. And from there, it was just one-way traffic. You know, Bogdangrad had an armbar attempt, but he didn't get it, and Tom Nolan just knocked him down, knocked him out in the first 90 seconds of the fight. Looked really, really good. Got a contract. I want him to fight at UFC 293. I think that would be perfect. He's from Australia. The card's in Sydney, Australia in September, so it is about a month away. It would be a quick turnaround, but Tom Nolan took no damage whatsoever. So I think he should fight Vyacheslav Borchev, and this would be a very tough test for Nolan. Now, Vyacheslav Borchev, he's very one-dimensional, but he is so good at striking. You know, he's a national Russian kickboxing champion, I believe. I think at one point he's like an amateur national boxing champion. Just a very good boxing and kickboxing background, and he's a very good striker. Or you could do Tom Nolan versus Maheshati Hayasea, which would be fun as well. You could do that in Australia as well. But I think that you could see Vyacheslav Borchev versus Tom Nolan. I think that'd be a perfect debut for him. Or I was actually even thinking that Maheshate would be a great debut for him as well. But I'm going to go with the Vyacheslav Borchev to beat Tom Nolan's debut. And then Cesar Almeida. Cesar Almeida went out there. Nobody expected Cesar Almeida's wrestling to be this good. And I think this is what happened in the fight. I think Lucas Fernando lost like a mental battle with himself in the fight. Because as soon as the fight started, Lucas Fernando went out there and tried to get a takedown. And he didn't really have that much success in the wrestling and grappling. Cesar Almeida stood up. And in the second round, Cesar Almeida just dominated the fight. And I think Lucas Fernando was really banking on him being able to take down Cesar Almeida. Because if you don't know who Cesar Almeida is, you know, he's a former kickboxing world champion for a couple of different promotions. He fought Alex Pereira 3 times. He won one of those 3 fights against Alex Pereira as well. But most importantly, he's a kickboxer, and nobody knew how good his wrestling and grappling was because he had only trained wrestling and grappling for less than a year full-time, apparently. That's what I was told anyway. Nobody expected him to out-wrestle and out-grapple Lucas Fernando. Who knows, man? That was absolutely insane. And Cesar Almeida looked good in the fight. He beat Lucas Fernando. Very good performance from Cesar Almeida. I think he does have a high ceiling at 185 because he's so fast on the feet. And he isn't super one-dimensional. Like, he does have some wrestling and grappling that he can go to. And now, I think he should fight Abdulrazak Al-Hassan. Abdulrazak Al-Hassan, at this point in his career, seems to be a tester for a lot of Dana White's Contender Series guys. He was tested against Claudio Ribeiro. And that was it. And Jacob Malkoon, who didn't fight on Contender Series. So he's not. But he was. He was in 2023. At the start of the year, he took on Claudio Ribeiro, who got signed off Dana White's Contender Series. He can now fight Cesar Almeida. I think this would be a good fight because both guys like to swing on the feet. Almeida will be much more technical on the feet, but Abdulrazak Al-Hassan does have a good judo background and he can wrestle and grapple if he needs to. So it'll be interesting to see if Abdulrazak Al-Hassan can go out there and just beat Almeida in the grappling, or if Almeida can beat up Abdulrazak Al-Hassan on the feet. That would be a good fight. Let me know what you think of the card in the comments below. It was a tough card for the young Artem on the picks, but it is what it is. And I'll see you guys in the next one.